Hello, Algebra 2. This is lesson 102, plus a little more. And our objective is just simply how do you add, subtract, multiply, divide, and compose functions. Let's just remember real quick function notation. Instead of saying like y equals, we use this function notation of just saying f of x is equal to this, or g of x is equal to that. Just a way to name functions. Some of the most common ones are f, g, and h that we use to name functions. But for now, we're just going to be talking about f and g. And I specify them to be this and this. F function is x squared plus 4, g function is 3x minus 1. So if it asks me f of 2, that means I'm just going to take this function, and instead of using the x in here, I'm going to use 2. So 2 squared plus 4, that's going to come out to be 4 plus 4, so this comes out to be 8. Whereas the g function evaluated at 2 means I need to use this function on the right. It's going to be 3 times 2 minus 1, which is going to be 6 minus 1, which is 5. So even if I ask you to do something else, like f of smiley face, or would be just equal to smiley face squared plus 4. Oh man, this lesson's going down the toilet. So the idea here is if we're going to start adding functions or subtracting them, we can just say the f function plus the g function is just going to be this plus this. X squared plus 4 plus 3x minus 1. So if we want to simplify that, this would be x squared plus 3x plus 3, because that 4 minus 1 comes out to be that 3. So the f plus g function is going to be this. Now, of course, why would we want to write this, f of x plus g of x, when we could write it like this, f plus g of x? That just means take the f function and add the g function. If it's f minus g of x, it means take the f function and subtract the g function. If there's a dot there, it means take the f function and multiply it by the g function. F over g of x means take the f function and divide it by the g function. And then this is where it starts getting a little bit different. We call this, we say f of g of x, which is a composition of functions. And this means take the f function and evaluate it at the g function. So think about saying the f function, so f of g of x is going to equal to the g function squared plus 4. Because here's my function, whatever x is, I'm putting it there. In this case, my x is g of x. Then I remember my g of x is this, so it's the same thing as saying 3x minus 1 squared plus 4. To simplify that all out, you'd say 3x minus 1 times 3x minus 1 plus 4. It's going to be 9x squared minus 6x plus 1 plus 4. So it would be 9x squared minus 6x plus 5. Alright, let's try some of these. So here's my g function, here's my h function, and it just asks me to subtract them. So I'm going to say 3x minus 3, that's my g function, minus my h function, which is x squared minus 4x. So this is going to be 3x minus 3 minus x squared plus 4x, because if you want to think of this as like a 1, negative 1 that I'm distributing in. Find like terms, so this is going to be negative x squared plus 7x minus 3. This one says add them, g function plus the h function. So it's going to be 2t minus 5 plus t squared minus 3. So let's say it's going to be t squared plus 2t minus 8, because those ones are like terms. Now, dividing, this will just be x squared plus 4 divided by 2x minus 2. I don't see anything that would simplify down there, so it's going to be my answer. And this one says multiply the h function times the g function, so I'm going to say 4t plus 5 times t plus 3. So since I have two binomials, I'm going to FOIL first. It's going to give me 4t squared outer plus 12t inner plus 5t last plus 15. Combining like terms, I'm going to have 4t squared plus 17t plus 15. Alright, now, number 15 is not too much crazier, because notice it just says the g function plus the f function, except for I'm going to say 5 times the g function plus 4 times the f function. So this right here is there. So I'm going to say 5 times the g function, a plus 2, plus 4 times the f function, negative 2a plus 1. Now to solve this, this is going to be 5a plus 10 plus a negative 8a plus 4. Combining like terms is going to give me negative 3a. 10 plus 4 is 14. Alright. Now, this number 1 is actually simpler, even though it's a little bit something new. It doesn't just say evaluate it at a letter, meaning that I'm going to have letters in my answer. It says evaluate it at this number, meaning that my answer is actually going to be a number. So what this says is, remember that this is the same thing as saying the g function evaluated at negative 7 plus the h function evaluated at negative 7. So if I just were to plug in 7, so let's find out what this piece is. G of negative 7 would be negative 7 squared plus 1, which comes out to be 49 plus 1, which is 50. H of negative 7 would be negative 2 times negative 7 plus 3. Negative 2 times negative 7 is going to give me positive 14 plus 3, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17. So now I found those two pieces. So if I want to find g plus h of negative 7, that's going to be the sum of those two. 50 plus 17 is going to be 67. So whenever you have a number here, most likely your answer is going to be a number. Alright, now let's look at 17 and 18, our last two. Notice this is f of g of n, meaning I'm going to take the h function, sorry, it's h of g of n. I'm going to take the h function and evaluate it with the g function in there. So notice if it said h of box, then I would say 4 times box minus 3, right? Because this n and that n match, so I'm going to keep them matching. So now what this means, remember, is this is the h function evaluated at the g function. Here's the g function. So this is going to equal to the h function, 4 times something minus 3. But that something I'm plugging in is the g function, which in this case is n cubed minus 2n. So to simplify this down, I'm going to multiply n by 4. 4n cubed minus 8n minus 3. Let's do one more of those. This says g of h of x. Here's my g function, here's my h function. So remember, this is just saying the g function evaluated at the h function. So this is going to be the g function, negative 2 times something. That something in this case is going to be the h function, x cubed plus 5. This is going to give me negative 2x cubed minus 10. Because I distributed those in. Your homework is a worksheet, so if you haven't gotten it, make sure you do. Good luck, guys. Ask questions as you need them.